We often talk about performance as if it lives entirely in the person. In reality, a lot of performance lives in the design of the work. That changes the conversation. When someone is struggling, most organizations still look first at the individual. Are they capable enough? Motivated enough? Resilient enough? Organized enough? Sometimes those questions are fair. Sometimes the answer does sit there. Quite often, though, the bigger issue is simpler than that. The work itself is harder than it needs to be. Processes are unclear. Priorities move without warning. Meetings appear with no context. Useful information is buried in long threads or passed on verbally and never written down. Expectations exist, but they are felt more than they are stated. In that kind of environment, people are not just doing the job, they are also trying to decode the job. That takes energy. More than most businesses realize, it shows up as confusion, rework, delays, missed follow-through, meeting fatigue, and the quiet frustration of people who know they are capable but cannot seem to get clean traction. It can make someone look inconsistent, distracted, or less effective than they really are, simply because too much of their effort is being spent navigating friction instead of adding value. This is where inclusive design matters, not as a niche adjustment, not as a side conversation, not as something that only sits under well-being or inclusion, as a better way of designing work in the first place. At its heart, inclusive design means creating systems, processes, and environments that reduce unnecessary friction so more people can do good work more consistently without having to fight the system just to stay afloat. Neurodivergent employees often feel the cracks in poor design first. Work that depends heavily on ambiguity, memory, speed, constant switching, or unspoken rules tends to ask more from them before the real work has even begun. Yet they are rarely the only ones affected. They are often just the first to feel what the system has been quietly costing everyone. That is why this matters. Inclusive design does not just improve the experience for neurodivergent people, it improves the working experience more broadly. It makes work easier to understand, easier to navigate, and easier to do well. It helps the business too, not through grand gestures, but through something far more useful: less friction, better contribution, and fewer things getting lost in translation. Many organizations are paying a hidden tax every day, although they rarely call it that. It sits in duplicated approvals, vague communication, unclear ownership, fragmented systems, and the quiet assumption that everyone processes information in the same way. It lives in workplaces where the quickest response is often rewarded more than the clearest one. It hides in cultures where being good at work can start to mean being comfortable with interruption, ambiguity, and constant mental juggling. Some people can absorb that more easily than others. Some can manage it too, but only by working much harder behind the scenes. They write everything down. They over-prepare for meetings. They rehearse what they're going to say. They hold multiple mental tabs open just to make sure nothing important gets dropped. They build personal coping systems around a workplace that has never really been designed with them in mind. That effort is often invisible. The cost is very real. People do not only get tired from difficult work, they also get tired from badly designed work. This is one of the reasons inclusive design matters so much. It does not ask people to become endlessly more resilient in the face of avoidable friction. It asks the organization to look honestly at the environment it has created. That is not lowering standards, it is raising the quality of the system. Inclusive design is not about making work softer, it is about making work more usable. It is the difference between a meeting invite that simply appears in someone's calendar and one that explains the purpose, the context, and what kind of input is needed. It is the difference between saying, "Send me your thoughts by Friday," and saying, "Please send me 3 bullet points on X by 3 p.m. Friday so I can make a decision." It is the difference between relying on people to remember what was agreed verbally and ending with a short written summary of actions, owners, and next steps. None of those things are dramatic. That is exactly why they matter. The simplest changes are often the ones that have the biggest effect. They reduce guesswork, they make expectations more visible, they lower the amount of mental effort people have to spend just working out what is going on. They create an environment where more of someone's energy can go into contribution instead of interpretation.